good morning or afternoon, or maybe it's the middle of the night while you're watching this. I'm Ty Dodge, CEO of Realty South, and I'd like to welcome you to our CRSA training. During the next few minutes, what I'd like to do is take a little look at how we got to where we are as a company and really what we're all about as a company, because I think that's very important to all of us. For the last 100 years or so, real estate has been dominated by small companies, generally just one office, maybe 15 or 20 agents. But then in the 1980s and the 1990s, things began to happen, not the least of which was technology that really rocked our world. And I will have to say it rocked our world in a good way. As we looked at the way we were doing business, it became evident that we were going to have to change the way we were doing business. And we needed to do some things differently to provide more critical mass in order to accomplish two things. The first was to provide an environment that gives you, our associate, the greatest competitive marketplace advantage, because if you're not successful in the marketplace, then neither are we as a company. The second one was that we needed to provide the tools and services that assured that our customers and clients enjoyed an extraordinary real estate experience. If I can give you a little background as to how we got here, in the early 90s, there were really three large companies in Birmingham that had 250 to about 400 agents each. But that's really not large in the sense of what we think of as a large company today. The owners of those companies began to realize that they could no longer be a medium-sized company, which is what they really were. And in 1998, Johnson, Ransom, Hayes, and Brigham Williams put down their swords and came together as one company, and we called it Realty South. 2 years later, First Real Estate and Ray & Company joined Realty South as well, and we now became a company with about 1,100 agents in the Birmingham area. 2 years after that, we had another interesting experience, and I will have to say as a way of background, we had been courted for years by a number of large firms, franchisees, like Century 21 and others, but they really didn't share our kind of core values or our business model. They certainly brought a lot of wonderful things to the table, but they just really weren't Realty South. And so we had never done business with those companies. But in 2002, we became part of Home Services of America. You may know that Home Services is a Berkshire Hathaway company owned by Warren Buffett. Home Services is really the second largest real estate company in America. It's a conglomeration of 20 companies across the United States, from California to Minnesota to Maryland and Florida. They're the 20 strongest players in each of their markets, and that's why they were chosen by Home Services. The thing that really appealed to us about Home Services, as opposed to the other companies that had been courting us, was that Home Services, when they came into a market and they joined forces with a strong market player, they didn't change that company to look like Home Services. They allowed that company to continue to look like what they did before, to be their presence in the market. Home Services simply allows you to do what you're doing in your own market with your own identity even better than you did before. To put that in a little bit of perspective in terms of our size, we're not the best because we're the biggest. We're the biggest because we're the best. And there are a lot of things that go into that. Well, as our companies came together, we brought together a lot of different cultures. They were good cultures. They all had good values, but they were different. And so now we had different pieces of our family that had been thinking in different ways and had different business models to some degree. And we decided around 2002 that we needed to establish Realty South's own core values. We have a mission statement. We have a vision as well. But the thing that I really want to touch on today is our core values, because I think that's really defines what we are as a company. The first one of those core values is integrity and character. And you know, those are just words. If we don't walk our talk, everyone says they have integrity and character, but we've got to do that better than everyone else. You may know the difference between reputation and integrity. Reputation is what you protect when everyone is watching, but integrity is what you exhibit when no one is watching. We've got to do integrity as well or better than anyone else in the marketplace, because that's our number one core value, and that's really what all of our other core values are founded on. Our second core value is this: trust is something you earn. We all know that trust is something that's built up over time, and we also know that it's very easy to lose it. It can be lost in one transaction or in one thing that's said in a wrong way. And so we need to work hard to not only gain the trust of those that we work with, but to keep that trust, because once we lose the trust, it's a very difficult thing to get back. Our third core value is this: teamwork and partnership with associates and employees. If I could take you back to the 1970s and the 1980s, we worked in what I call the era of broker control. It was a time when every company looked pretty much like every other company. The highest split that an agent ever got was about 60-40. Every company had the same benefits and technology, and there was really no reason for an agent to leave one company and go to another one. And so the brokers were in control, and what they said went. If a sales associate didn't really like that, that was just kind of too bad. Then in the 1980s and the early 1990s, we were in an era that I call the era of agent control. Companies began offering greater perks, higher splits, all kinds of signing bonuses to get agents to leave the company they were currently in and come across the street and join them. We eventually raised splits so high we cut margins razor thin and really weren't doing a service to our associates because we were no longer able to provide the things that they needed to be successful. So we went from an era of broker control to an era of agent control. And I'm pleased to say now that in the late 90s and this era of the 2000s, we're in an era of partnership. It's a time when we all bring our strengths to the table and we work together, because I truly believe that unless we're partners in this business, none of us will ultimately succeed. Our fourth core value is excellence in client and customer service. Service may be a bit of a misnomer. We used to be purely a service industry, but that's changed now. We're a service and skills industry now. We no longer can just ride people around in our cars and help them with the purchase. We're now expected to know things in the legal arena, how to price property well. There are all kinds of things that we have to do from a skills standpoint. And to do that and to be competitive, we've got to be excellent. We owe that to the customers and the clients that we serve. And finally, our fifth core value is respect and concern for every individual. You know, we're a really diverse company. We come from all kinds of ethnic, national, religious, educational, financial backgrounds. If you lined up all 1,200 associates with Realty South and tried to describe what one thing from an outward appearance standpoint best suited a Realty South agent, you couldn't do it. We're just too diverse in that regard. Along those lines, we're all equal. We all deserve the respect and the concern of each other, certainly within the Realty South family, and we need to extend that respect and concern outside of our family to the agents with whom we co-op and to others as well. Well, those are our 5 core values. We think that they're among the most important things in our culture, our core values. They really have to have everything to do with who we are as a company. You came to this company probably for a lot of reasons. Some of them were personal, some were practical, some were business. And I think you made a right choice. And I'd like to just touch on a couple of reasons why I think that choice was a good one on your behalf. Well, the first one is training. We are the training company in Alabama. We have more training on more levels than anyone else. We start, of course, with pre-license training, getting your license, but we take you to the highest skill level you want to achieve. Our training is really designed to maximize your potential, wherever that is that you want to be. But I would mention one thing about training. Training is sometimes the first thing that an associate wants to go to, but the last thing they really want to be there for. We are busy. There are a lot of things going on in our lives, both business and personal. And sometimes it's easy to put training off until the next day. I would encourage you not to do that because we are in a time that requires extraordinary skill. So take advantage of Realty South training, from CRSA to continuing education and other skills training that's offered along the way. The second item is our family of services. A recent NAR survey showed that 83% of consumers, that's a big number, 83% of consumers wanted to go with a full-service company for their real estate business. Well, we're really that one full-service company in Birmingham, Alabama, and really across Alabama. We're the only company that provides a full spate of full services. We start with Mortgage South, a loan officer probably right in your branch. We also have Title South and the Title South closing centers. Insurance South is there to help your clients and customers as well. We also have services like the AHS home warranty and others. Let me share an analogy that might make full service be a bit more meaningful. If you went back 40 years and drove from Huntsville to Orange Beach, I wonder how many service stations you'd find along the way that had a food market attached. I'd venture to say you wouldn't find any. But if you drove from Huntsville to Orange Beach today, how many would you find that didn't have a food mart attached? Again, I'd venture to say that every one you saw was a full-service service station. Real estate's much the same way. People don't want to buy gas at one service station and their Cokes at another one. They want to get everything at one place. And in the world of real estate, it's no different. We are busy. Consumers don't have time to find a mortgage in one location and a title somewhere else and setting up their closing in another location. And so we do that all in-house. But it provides another advantage as well. As we bring those services under one roof, we also have control over the quality of those services. So if there's a problem that you encounter, one way or another, we're going to get it fixed for you. By the way, as you think of full service and our family of services, think of it as a team. Think of Mortgage South, Insurance South, Title South, and the Title South closing centers as being part of your team that makes you successful, and maybe even more important than that, provides that extraordinary real estate experience for your customers and clients. Another reason that you're at Realty South, I'm quite sure, is technology. 20 years ago, every company had the same 4 pieces of technology. Each company had a copier. Each company had a thermal fax machine. You remember those. It had a roll of fax paper, came out and crinkled up, and then after 6 months, the ink went away. Every company had phones, and every company had an IBM Selectric typewriter. I wonder if you even remember what that was. Oh yeah, we all had a coffee maker as well. And so there was really no difference from company to company, even as long ago as 20 years. But now, in today's market, technology is really the great differentiator. It's what puts Realty South on the cutting edge. It's what makes us different than any other company in Alabama. Another recent NAR poll indicated that the Internet was the most useful source of information for buyers and sellers. In fact, in that NAR poll, 73% of buyers said that the Internet was the most useful source of information. You came next in that poll. 69% of buyers said that real estate agents were important, and the print media, while we'll never get rid of print, was way down at 20%. To give you an example of really how important that seems to be to people out there, the Realty South website enjoys 600,000 or more visits per month from our consumers. You might find something interesting. I do. At least every month I hear from another broker, a competitive broker or a competitive agent who says, your website is so good that I refer all my customers and clients to your site for information. And that's really true. I hear that from almost every company in town. I would make this point. While Realty South truly is the technology company in real estate in Alabama, we are not a technology company. We're a people company. Our technology is really just a means to an end. It allows us to do our job better and more efficiently, but what we're really all about is relationships, and we can't ever let technology overshadow that. Another aspect of Realty South that I think you'll find very important is our marketing department. It's a full-service department. They can help you with the design of a full-year mailing campaign, a single flyer for an exceptional property. They can help you with graphic design and all kind of other marketing services. I would really encourage you to call them, go up to the administrative office and sit down and kind of see what they can do for you, to help you take your business to the level that you want it to be on. And while we're talking about marketing, I might mention market dominance. We're as high as a 70% market share in many of the markets that we serve. Think about that. 70% of the transactions are done by Realty South. That says an awful lot about what consumers think of us. So the advantage there is that while you may need to sell yourself to a consumer that you don't know, you probably don't have to sell the company. They already know about us. And that brings me to one other item, and there are really two words that you need to remember. The words are buyer pool. If you think about advertising, we don't advertise to sell houses. Now that may seem a little strange. We really advertise to make connections with consumers who want to buy houses. The typical buyer who buys a house today probably established a relationship with an agent 3 months ago or 6 months ago or 9 months ago because of an ad or because they came to the internet. So all of the advertising that we do is really not intended to sell houses. It's intended to build buyer pool. And Realty South has the largest buyer pool of any company in the state. Well, all that leads me to a question, perhaps a rhetorical question, but it's this. Why does a good agent need a broker? I mean, really, other than the fact that Alabama law requires you to have one, why does a good agent need a broker? A good agent can write a contract, they can find a buyer, they can list a property, they can put the deal together, take it to closing. And so why does a good agent really need a buyer? Well, the answer to that is in one word, change. A good agent needs a broker to manage change. You know, up until the mid-'80s, not much changed in the real estate business. And then as technology began to take over our business, things began to change at warp speed. We're not the same company today in the way that we do business as we were just 6 months ago because things happen so quickly. And you're working in a very complicated, transaction-focused environment. You're working with buyers and sellers on one of the most complicated things that they do in life. And the last thing that you need to worry about is how you stay in business 5 years from now. That's what your company's for. That's what your broker's for. Well, I will say that our leadership group is the best in Alabama. We stay on the cutting edge. We know what's coming in terms of market changes, and we make plans for that. But I will also say that we have two affiliations that really help us in that light. One is our Home Services of America affiliation, 20 of the top companies in America, those minds coming together to share ideas. The other is the Realty Alliance. The Realty Alliance is 75 of the top companies in America, and we meet with them as well on a regular basis to share ideas. If I could, let me leave you with a final thought. The National Association's Code of Ethics describes our business in this way. It says that real estate imposes an obligation on its practitioners that goes beyond that of ordinary commerce. It says that we have a grave social responsibility, and that's really right. We really do. In fact, we're in the business of helping people with the most significant financial transactions of their lives. We're in the business of building dreams. That being the case, it's up to us, up to you and me, to make every transaction an extraordinary real estate experience for the customers and the clients that we serve. Thank you for joining Realty South. If I haven't met you already, I'm looking forward to doing that. And in the meantime, I wish you tremendous success in your new business venture. And once again, welcome to Realty South. Thanks.